Truth Seekers, 158th post here. I want to talk about the word justice as well as the other words you see up on the screen. I noticed this week that the word justice summed to 33 when you use the method where S counts as 10. And I'd overlooked that all this time. And I really like that because justice has always been my favorite word in this world. Ever since elementary school, my teachers have told me I have a keen sense for justice. And I just think justice is so important because I think we live in a world that doesn't have justice right now, and that's why so many of us suffer from the things we suffer from. And for this past week, I've been suffering for, a symptom of this world, and I've been able to take it pretty well for what's happened to me because I just understand I live in a sick world where I get stolen from every day. So this major theft that has just happened to me, it's just a product of this world. And I want to tell you guys about what just happened to me because this is an important story and one everybody can learn from. And a lot of you might already know this lesson. And if you already know this lesson, I have sympathy and empathy for you because now I've been through it. So now I have a new life experience. So anyway, Truth Seekers, at the end of October, I mentioned in a video post that my roof just started to leak horribly, like a nightmare. I should go back in time and tell you that I bought this home on Friday the 13th, January 13th, 2012. That's the day the deal closed, and I got the keys to the house. It's the day of the Costa Concordia crash. Remember that? The big boat that crashed 100 years after the Titanic? That happened to be the day I became a homeowner for the first time. How old was I then? Lost track of time. I think I was 28. 28. And anyhow, after buying this home, 6 months after, I got a new neighbor across the street. He bought the home I almost bought. I thought about buying that home because it was a slightly more cost-effective price, but it needed a lot more work than this house. Anyhow, the neighbor who moved in there, or I should say the neighbors, were a recently remarried couple. They are about 25 years older than me. All this time they've been my neighbors, I've really liked the wife. I thought the man was a little bit short, a little bit insulting. When he first met me, I had a beard and long hair. I used to look a little bit different. And he made a really derogatory comment about my appearance. Not in such a joking manner, but more of like a cruel manner. But I kind of just shrugged it off and thought, okay, whatever. I've tried to be a good neighbor to him all this time is the point. And he hasn't always been the nicest person to me. But the other thing I just found out, and this is the life mistake I made, you guys. All this time I've known him, he's told me he's a roofer, works for a roofing company, home improvement company. I didn't think to doubt him because there's no doubt that he has handy skills. He has done some great work in this home that they've bought. And he's made this home, honestly, the nicest home on the block. And it was not a pretty sight when they bought it. And recently when the roof started to leak, I naturally went across the street and I said, I won't use his name, I said, hey neighbor, if you got time, I would love to bring some business your way because my roof just started to leak, and if it would help you out, I got some other projects too. And so I asked him, I said, he knows that I'm planning to move this spring. I let him know that I would like to get new siding, new roof, one of my windows needs replaced, and my fence is now blown over the last 2 years, and I've had to prop it back up, so I know it's running out of time. So anyway, I was going to get a new fence. And I asked him if they could do all those projects, and he said, oh yeah, absolutely. And I asked him to put a package deal together for me and get back to me. So he came back to me with a price. And I thought the price was fair. I asked him if I did cash, if I could get an even better deal. And he said, oh, wow, you could come up with that kind of cash? And I said, well, maybe, And he came back with a cash offer. It was only $4,000 less. And I thought, well, $4,000, that's something. Maybe that's worth it. So I said, yeah, let's do that. I said, let's do it. And agreed to it. I thought I was getting the new roof, the new siding, the fence, and the window replaced. And what happened is they came and they put on a new roof, and then they took away the haul-away bin. which is expensive to rent if you guys don't know. They rent these big dumpsters for the tearaway from the old project. They cost about $600 to $700 to rent. So if they take it away, that means they have to rent it twice, which means, I'm paying that expense, right? So I went over to my neighbor and I said, hey, how come they took away the garbage bin? He said, oh, it's just because we have to go do some other projects, and then we're going to be back to do the siding and the rest. Also, I should mention I have to get my front door replaced because it got damaged from the leaking roof. It flooded through and swelled up the wood. And anyhow, I thought, okay, I wasn't exactly happy that this is what it was, that I was going to have to now wait 2 weeks for them to finish up this work, but I just said, hey, this is my neighbor. I agreed to do this. It's just what it is. It's not that big of a deal. Well, lo and behold, you guys, 2 days after they finished the roof and took away the garbage bin, my house was robbed for all of its contents, plus the cash I had in the house for the remaining projects. And it was in a really tight window of time. I was away from my house from 1:30 in the morning to 7 in the morning. Not to give away too much of my personal life, but recently my girlfriend moved out of the house to be closer to school. And it was the very first night. She woke up in the middle of the night and just said how lonely and tired she was and just asked if I would come be there with her. So just in that small window of time that I went to be with her, my house was robbed of everything within it. And just days after this roof was completed. And the only person in the world who knew I had cash in the house for these remaining projects was my neighbor. So right away, I was extremely curious. When I called my neighbor, he didn't pick up, and I noticed he wasn't home, which was atypical for Saturday because he's always around on the weekends, I noticed. And he got back to me 3 hours later in the day, which I was surprised even took that long to get back because normally he's a pretty sharp neighbor. And when he called me back, I let him know that the house had been robbed and we were going to have to pause the other projects because I wasn't sure I still had the funds to get them done. And what was interesting to me is he told me that that was okay. He was busy in business on Oregon. And he'd talk to me when he got back, and his voice just seemed very indifferent, for being a neighbor that just told him he got robbed of everything. So I thought that was real interesting. So then I called the company that just did the roofing project that I thought my neighbor worked for. And once the owner got back to me, I found out that 1, my neighbor doesn't work for this company. And 2, there was no talk of any project besides a roof. All the owner knew about was installing the roof on my house. When I confronted my neighbor, he came back late Sunday night and told me that he was just busy in Oregon, which is, he said he was in the middle of Oregon, which from here is about a 8-hour drive each direction. So after this, I decided to talk to the neighbors just to see what they thought about. Normally I don't go around my neighbors asking, hey, what do you think about this person? I didn't want to tell anybody what had happened to me. But I asked my neighbors, and it turns out everybody had a horror story about this guy. And since it happened, I've talked to his wife independently, and she told me he's been very suspicious lately. And she also told me that she had this horrible feeling or fear that possibly he was connected to all of her jewelry, which disappeared when they first got married. So I think she's pretty much hinting to me that yes, she knows in fact her husband did do it. So what everyone's saying to me in my life, you guys, is how do you live across the street from a person who just did this to you? And you guys, it's the same reason I do these video posts. I'm telling you, it's just because I understand this world. I mean, let's go back further in time. Speaking of understanding this world, this man who robbed me, part of the reason I keep reaching out to this man is because I have an ironic story from my past. When I first moved to Seattle, I worked for a group home in Seattle. A group home is where children live full-time who essentially have blown out of foster care and have behavioral problems that make it hard for them to live anywhere besides a group home. Essentially because they're the types of children that will kill family pets, break everything in the house, hurt other people, etc. So what happens is these children, they get put in these homes where they have to live together, and if you can imagine how traumatic that is, then your thinking cap is on. Yes, it's not a good place, it's an unfortunate place, but they're very real places, they exist, and they need good people to work there. So I used to work at one of these places, and while I was there, I got to train this girl who was truly a wonderful human being. And as it happens, this girl is the daughter of the man across the street who robbed me, if you can believe it. This man has 3 different daughters with 3 different wives, and this one is, she's the class of the 3. And anyhow, what I learned while working at that group home is I just learned how people can grow into be essentially what my neighbor is and what he did to me. So I already understand it, and I just see that it's a terrible tragedy, you guys, and I already know what the only solution is. We have to make this world better. Otherwise, this kind of stuff's just going to keep happening to people. Justice. It's got to be peaceful. I mean, you know what everyone thinks I do? Everyone thinks, even my own neighbors, 2 of my neighbors told me I should go break this guy's knees across the street. A lot of people think I should kill this guy, literally, because I reached out to him and he came back and he robbed me. And honestly, you guys, I really did reach out to him. I said I wanted to help him as a neighbor. He even told me his company's expensive. It's funny to think he was telling me things like this when he didn't work for a company. But I said, that's okay if it helps you as a neighbor. I said, I want to make the neighborhood look pretty when I go, and I want to help you out as a neighbor. I said, that's my gift to you guys. It's not all about the money to me. I like to do nice things. I guess this guy took me for all I was worth, literally. So anyway, if I was to go back, you guys, I was just going to say, if I was to go back and be violent to this guy, like other people have suggested, then what would happen? Then I would just bring more trauma to the neighborhood. Now, instead of just me being hurt, now everyone's hurt. And then when there's violence, it's just, I mean, that's the thing, you guys. Order. Can you imagine if we lived in a world with justice, peace, and order? It can't be achieved as long as there's violent people out there, but that's what we have to do as a society. We have to disarm the violent people. And we can disarm the violent people if we come together in large numbers, because the people who maintain the ongoing violence and destruction of this world that trickles down, like Ronald Reagan once said, he was talking about economics, but what really trickles down is all the nastiness from the top leadership of this world. The next thing you got neighbors robbing neighbors. Anyway, you guys, I just wanted to share this story with you. Also, if you're someone who keeps cash in your house, if you're one of these people out there, because I'll tell you what, Truth Seekers, I've kept cash on me my whole adult life and never had a problem. But now I have the perspective that doesn't matter because it only takes one time to have a problem. What I've just done to myself is I have lost all the cash I have saved for all of my adult working life. That just happened to me. And like I said, Truth Seekers, everything happens for a reason. And I've been telling myself that, and I know it's true. So all I really wanted to do with that money, you guys, what I've been saving it for, what my plan was, is to take this type of thing that I'm doing right now to the next level. And the realization I've had now that I've lost it is I could spend all this time trying to earn it back, or I can work harder at this message, get more people to support. And just imagine if 1 million people contributed $1 overnight for a cause. I'd make back everything I lost and some more in no time, you know. So if you guys are down for the cause, that's what I want to do. I'm still going to sell my house in the spring. I'll see what I can put together. I want to start a real movement, you guys. We're running out of time. And we got to work harder. That's also what I learned from this, you know. I just got to come back that much stronger, and that's what I'm going to do. So pretty soon I'll unleash some real post-truth seekers. I just want to let you know while I was gone what's up in my life. And don't worry for me, you guys. I'll be back. All right, thanks.